So hotels are an excellent tool for creating the most amount of leverage in the hospitality ecosystem. I feel like a lot of people truly don't understand how valuable they are, especially when you're working food and beverage operations at local restaurants and local bars. But I've had a chance to visit some of the professionals over there at Hyatt downtown in Houston, hearing how they run things. And here right now in New York, this place called Hotel on Rivington, where we just finished up capturing a project with a commercial real estate firm, as well as the hotel owners, where they use this property to recruit investors so that way that they can get additional capital, so that way that they can scale into different locations. And they were able to use this property, the rooms, the event space, to court these investors all within their own hospitality ecosystem. You know, of course, there are the obvious ways to make money with a hotel when it comes to selling rooms, you know, you're selling food and beverage experiences, but then there's also using the space as a bargaining tool to get the right target audience in your ecosystem. And I'll tell you, as a guy who's had a chance to mobilize my team to do events in different places, different cities, and I'll tell you what, the lodging is going to run you a bunch of money, feeding your team is going to run a bunch of money, and if you don't have the event space already secured, you don't have a relationship in place, that is going to cost you a lot of money. And that's just for you just to pull off a brand awareness event. That's not even you talking about like, okay, you need to now turn this into a sales funnel. But hotels are a great spot to do that. And I feel like they have been built to self-sustain themselves, not only serving the community, but also having this way to really court and convince investors this is a project that you can be a part of indefinitely. Because not only is a hotel an amazing asset itself, but then you also got the land itself. So even if the hotel gets old, they can just tear it down, sell it, and get a profit return that way. And I bring this up because even with us hospitality industry vets who don't own properties like this, how can we use this and kind of replicate the social science behind it all? Because even as a bartender, that's what I would do. I would leverage my knowledge, equity, and my skill set development as a way to get advancement opportunities or maybe additional cash flow opportunities. And sometimes I would go in there, bartend for cheap, and I would just hope that I would get the tips. But just to be in the room and get the access is a way that I would facilitate this asset that I have right here to generate advancement opportunities that other people might not have access to. I mean, I've been doing the same thing with content creation as well. There's been a lot of projects that I've went in and created media for free just to be in the room, just to be around smarter people. Because even if they don't pay me, sometimes I get a chance to sit down, record them, I'll go back and edit, I get a chance to listen to them again. It's almost like being in school, it's like being in a seminar. I mean, even this project today where I had at Hotel in Rivington, it's like they're sitting down, I'm getting access to experts who have sold trillions of dollars worth of real estate, seeing how they go about evaluating real estate, see how they go about evaluating hospitality venues when it comes to investing in them. And now I get a chance to take that knowledge in, pass it along to you guys, but also incorporate it into my plans, which I'm going to touch on in this video today when it comes to Railz Hospitality and where we're headed next with this platform. So before I even get into that, I want to give you a little bit of background about myself and what makes me qualified to even talk about this stuff. And I know some of you guys may know me from doing funny skits on Instagram or maybe conducting the Speed Railz event campaign, or maybe even interviewing some of your favorite hospitality superstars. But really how I got started in this hospitality game 18 years ago. Started off, I was in college getting my degree in biology. I was a fat kid, eventually ended up losing weight, loved the fitness side of things. Obviously I didn't make money, so I just hunkered down in hospitality, serving tables, eventually getting to bartending where I'm making all the money. Did that for over a decade. Had a chance to go from corporate chain fast restaurant. I ended up going to Del Frisco's, got my sommelier certification. I was one of their top salesmen there. I loved the game. Ended up going to back to a corporate fast casual restaurant, but it was more trendy. This thing called Moxie's. We're selling shots, and I realized I was making more money selling shots than I was bottles of wine. People just drunk them faster, and I got a chance to be more of myself versus in the elevated upscale dining areas. It was a little bit of social labor is what I would call it, having to go in there and put the persona on. So being in Moxie's also put me in the target audience of the target demographic that I would hang out with. And so I really ended up hunkering down with these guys. I ended up expanding into Florida, Miami specifically. I ended up making the decision to go out there, open up a restaurant with only 2 weeks of notice because I'm chaotic like that. And as soon as I move out there, it's 2020, COVID hits, everybody gets fired, everybody loses their job. But one of the things that helped me out and get me onto the next skill set development phase was they ended up having an online cocktail competition while we're all sitting at home, which had a big prize attached to it. So I figured right then and there was going to be the opportunity for me to learn how to use content creation. And if you don't remember, I was super into fitness. So I thought that since I'm in the fittest city in the world right now, I've always had personal trainer aspirations. I actually have my personal trainer certification that I will also use at time to create workout videos, much like a lot of other people. But regardless, that period allowed me to understand the mechanical nature of content creation and putting out a lot of trash ass content. But I'm learning how to do it, how to store files, starting to figure out which things help increase viewer retention. A lot of things that I still use to today, I learned during that COVID period where I had a chance to take a break from bartending and work on this separate endeavor itself. So ended up doing a cocktail competition, ended up actually advancing pretty far out of 100 people. I ended up making it to the top 8 cocktail creativity as well as the videos. But then also on the flip side with this workout stuff, we ended up creating content and blowing up a community in Miami where it started off with 4 guys, ended up expanding off to 150 people sometimes. Even that group ended up breaking off into other subgroup interest groups, including volleyball groups and run clubs and all that other stuff. And that was one of the first times I really saw how content creation can build a community. And one of the key components of that community that was built was the online forum, the online message place, the group chats, that place where we can, share our own micro content, we can share our culture, we can keep up with everybody's birthdays, and we can have those lateral communications versus when you have Instagram and TikTok, it's really just one to many. I create a video, a bunch of people see it, and if they have things in common with each other, they don't get a chance to talk to each other. And I think that's a loss of opportunity for people who are all interacting with this content, and it's by design. These platforms don't want you talking laterally with each other because eventually you start meeting out in real life and then you get off the social platforms. But in that workout group, also, I'm getting access to people in the city. Once again, it's almost like the hotel structure. I'm getting people into the ecosystem, and from there, I'm able to figure out how I can provide value, how can they provide value back to me. Ended up connecting with a guy named Herwig. He was the CEO of this fintech media company called Security Token Market, and they operate in a very niche finance space where it's called tokenization, where they take owners who own pieces of properties and they put it in a digital wrapper, almost like how you take all of the shares of Apple and you put them in a digital wrapper and now you can go buy them on Robinhood. They can do that with things like real estate and access to deals that people don't have access to. And a lot of times the reason you don't have access to them is because of government regulations or because breaking them down would just be too costly because of the administrative ways of back in the old days. But now with this new technology, it's made things more accessible, and now they can go about getting money from thousands of investors to help them fuel property development or other business opportunities. And so while I was with them, I started seeing all these opportunities of how they can go about expanding by creating content to build community. And that's when I started offering my own ideas once I got situated, because not only was I helping them with creating content for their own brand, for the company, bringing in clients, but also I was part of the education teams. Like, okay, we need to go out there and develop business. People who don't know about this, how can we get them on the ground floor and get them advancing so that way eventually they can become the clients that we need them to be. And that's when I launched this platform called Open Tab, where I would bring in different influencers into a bar, into a restaurant. I would talk about what they had going on with their business while I make up some drinks and go back and forth. And it was revolutionary at the time. I mean, this was like 2021. People were just doing podcasts, and I was able to do this at Moxie's at the time. Big shout out to them for letting me do this. And Moxie's was the hottest restaurant in downtown Miami at the time. So it was really easy for me to get these influencers in there to come create this high quality content on podcast platforms that hadn't been on before. So once again, I'm using bartending, I'm using content creation to get in contact with the people that can give me additional opportunities as well as additional. And those same skill sets I learned from the workout group and the cocktail contest, I was able to put into this podcast platform using almost $30,000 worth of camera equipment based on a relationship I got from the workout group. But from that Open Tab, ended up building a relationship with each one of those guests I had. I think I had like 15 different guests, and that's what made me realize, like, okay, there needs to be almost a media network showcasing what our local entrepreneurs are up to, because of course we have the local news channels, but sometimes they can be focused on things that don't really serve some of the interests of everybody. But with social media, we each have our own individual channels, and I wanted to leverage that by creating an entrepreneurial network. Honestly, I wanted to take almost like the workout group social science and bring it over into business. And so we ended up soft launching a business called Top Floor, where it was exactly that. We brought in different entrepreneurs who were experts in different segments, credit, real estate, that could be stocks, and they all kind of owned their niche while we created content for them, or we had a community that would come in and get educated from them. But ultimately, that ended up being super expensive to run, especially as I started planning the events. And this was my first time planning events from a non-hospitality angle, and it made me realize just how inefficient the hospitality industry was and how much we were missing out on opportunities to actually grow business in the community. And that's when I decided to take a step back from Top Floor, working with Security Token Market, because I'm like, okay, there's a bigger opportunity over here in getting the hospitality industry together. And that's when I ended up coming back to Houston from Miami, because Houston was a place I built a long career in 30 years. I have a ton of relationships, and I'm able to soft launch a lot of these event ideas without having the cost of being in Miami, you know what I'm saying, and paying $2,000 just to be at the space, just to get a chance to maybe build a community. And so OTM was this project I started with my boy Hector, and he was a guy that worked for a corporate chain. He was a recruiter, so he was great at providing people with job advancement opportunities within the industry, while I was coming in on more of the content media angle. And then that's when we collaborated with OTM Network to kind of build this online ecosystem for people to talk about job opportunities, ask questions, and get into it, maybe become a bartender. But ultimately that ended up fizzling out because a lot of the traction that I was getting was people who were trying to enter the industry versus, I envision dealing with the hospitality entrepreneurs, the people who are trying to get it, or the people who at least have some experience and trying to take it to that next level, because ultimately that's where the big space is. The big space isn't getting people jobs, because really we could just post something like, yo, just go to a restaurant, go to a bar between 2 and 4 p.m. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, do it enough, you'll get a job. There's not much opportunity, not much to talk about there. But there's other opportunity where the people who may not want to become a bar manager, what are the other ways you can do it? Or maybe you're somebody trying to raise money so that way you can open a bar or hotel. How do you go about doing that? Are you somebody trying to create media around your cocktail classes, your mobile event bartending? Like, those are the things that I was super interested in, but I didn't even get a chance to get to that step because one of the first events we ended up actually kicking off was this thing called Speed Railz. And we tried a bunch of different events, speed dating, cocktail classes, which they're fun, super educational, but unless you own the real estate, unless you own the product, it's really not worth the effort. But we just started this competition because I didn't want to do just the same old industry night. So we did Speed Railz, which is a bartender competition mechanism. Because bartenders at the end of the day, they're former athletes, they're artists, they're creatives, and they love competition. So that's a great way to get people out together so that way they can measure up how they are against other people. And it started off as an industry night, just a party, but it quickly turned into a community, especially because we launched it as a 5-week series versus a one-off event. I think with having this event concept as a multi-event series, it ended up really giving the opportunity for people to have multiple touch points. And I did the same science as I did with the workout group, is we had the online group chat mechanism. So even between the events, we're able to touch base with everybody. And then I'm also using the media that I'm creating for them to get familiarized with each other just a whole lot easier. You get to see people's personalities, you get to see a little bit about where they work, what they do. And I'm seeing these other people pull up on each other. Especially we had a chance to expand statewide in Texas, where Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, people are in different cities and they're going to see some of the bartenders that are all a part of this community. So that was one of the super things that I really appreciated and I loved, and it's something that I want to expand on going into the future, especially as we build out what Railz Hospitality is going to become, as I'm getting into right now. So Railz Hospitality, as it stands right now, I built another online community where this is no asking for jobs is allowed, for one. Secondly, it's going to be a spot where we have a ton of professional resources already available, templates, just a knowledge database. In fact, if you go in there right now, I've already uploaded some event planning frameworks, and I'm actually going to be uploading some different agentic AI, or they call them custom GPTs, where it'll be based on some of the knowledge of maybe event outlines that I've had or marketing plans that I had, so that way that you can put your specific situation into it and it'll spit out something that's specific to your vision for yourself. So really excited about where it's going, but also it's a place for people to network laterally. As I touched on earlier, a lot of people, they get a chance to watch content creators, they get to watch these examples, but they don't get a chance to talk to each other. So in this community, not only do you go in there and create a profile about who you are, where you work, and what you want, but now you get a chance to see what other people are up to, what other projects they have. I mean, we even have previous competitors in Speed Railz uploading some of their craft cocktail creativities We are uploading pictures of other bars, and we really plan on this even being an interface for event planners who are looking for venues to come check out, see what it looks like, get in touch with operators. Because even right now, as it stands, I have influencers who look at me as a guy who's built up a following and like, how can we throw a party at that place, or how can we do business over here? And so having everything in this database right here is super interactive. It's not a Google Doc, and it also doesn't interfere with that venue's marketing mechanism, because a lot of venues, they have their own marketing teams, and sometimes it can slow down sometimes actually getting the sales done, which is we need to see what the space looks like in its entirety, especially for these event planners who are planning events not in the same city that the venue is in. And sometimes these Instagram profiles are just sizzle reels, hot girls, close-ups of drinks, and it's just really not helping out event planners who need like all this information so they can compile reports and send to their boss of resources 4 to 5 different venues. So we'll be using the Railz network to upload that type of content, and we'll be teaching you guys how to do it as well too. So that way that we can keep the needle moving, because in the day, I can't do it all in order for this to expand and grow into what it can be. Another thing that the Railz platform is going to be is collaboration facilitation platform. If you've seen what we've been up to right now, we've already started connecting different community groups. Even we have our guys out there in Austin called the Boys in Austin. There's some OG Speed Railz vets. They started throwing their own events out there. Then we have Nick out there in Dallas. He has a brand called Pop-Up Market where he's bringing in small business entrepreneurs, and we're getting a chance to connect them. Or we've had them come out to Houston to throw events at some of our venues. So having all of that stuff in our Railz network kind of helps those processes move without people waiting on me as a bottleneck to kind of put those things together. Because sometimes you guys might have an idea, you might not feel like it's worth reaching out to me, and I don't want that to stop you from getting things moving. And I think another thing that I really love about the service industry is how much we show love to each other. You know, we will give people discounts, we'll give people free stuff just for you to come in and try our stuff. That way you can be a word of referral, because we know you might know a lot of people. And so we don't mind giving away stuff to each other, because we know that stuff comes back 2 or 3 times over. So having a network where we can broadcast some of those things or broadcast some of our events or workshops is another good reason for Railz Hospitality. And if you're somebody who has competed, been involved in our process before, and you need help promoting stuff, they already know I help them promote stuff. So feel free to use the Railz network to talk about what you have going on, showcase your discounts, your offerings, so that way that we can get it out to the rest of the community and we can maximize what you have cooking up. And so next move is we are getting ready to head into 2026, and I have a big plan to help get all of this even more activated, using Speed Railz as an event marketing mechanism to raise awareness to it all, because we're going to be doing a statewide relay competition, basically to go to each city and figure out who the best bar is in that city. So Speed Railz used to just be just speed. 2025, we added a craft component to it to kind of see what the beverage creativity was for the competitors, because yeah, you're fast, but can you also create drinks that can be on the menu? It's also good for sponsors, because they want to see how people can use their product, how it tastes, and gets the product in people's hands. Now we're going to be adding a third component to it, which is called community engagement, where we'll be getting our competitors to curate events, so that way that we can see how the community goes in there and judges that bar on the hospitality, on the drinks that are there, and so forth. So it'll be a 2.5-month campaign, 16 bars per each city. And we'll be using the Railz network as a way to get some of these people who are attending, who will be voting, as well as showcasing the pictures of the venues, the hospitality, the personalities, all of that stuff. So going to be a great time to join us on this launch of this process. And we'll be starting off with the Texas cities. We have Austin, we have Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas. So if you're watching this, haven't signed up yet, reach out to us. Hopefully by the time you see this, there's still some space. If not, going into 2027, we will be then teaching venues how to do this process and use the Railz network as a glue to find their competitors, find the people who will be a part of these bar crawls, these parties, to help evaluate the venues. And we'll be using the Speed Railz media platform as a way to market for you guys. And yeah, that's about it, man. I just really wanted to give you guys a ground up just about how each stage of this process has started. And I really think that, you know, being in a hotel really kind of helped me realize just how we can be using the things that we own already to really provide, you know, assets to the community, so that way you can work on long-term business projects and goals. And I know a lot of times they tell us not to do free work, but nothing's ever free if you could think long-term frame-wise and how you get ROI and what that means to you. I mean, eventually we want Railz Hospitality to start getting involved in permanent projects, you know, where we are getting equity, where we are getting ongoing cash flow. I mean, we would love to invest in properties like hotels and stuff like that, so that way as we travel, we don't have to worry about paying for lodging. And I mean, we want to help talented operators out there find the money that they need too. There's been too many times we see a talented operator just not be capitalized enough, long enough to really expand and grow their brand. And I think having these events is going to be a great opportunity to always have an arena for cross-pollination of ideas. And I think with us having brilliant minds always in the same space, both online and in person, is how we can each individually help each other out. And I hope that Railz Hospitality can be that joint mechanism for it all. So if you're online, you're gonna see Instagram with a bunch of different profiles. At least now you know what's happening on each level. And to break it down for you, the Railz Hospitality is gonna be this industry leader networking platform online and offline. Also a development skill set arena. Here we have Speed Railz. There's going to be our event marketing mechanism via competitions. Then you have bartender to CEO. That's going to be just the home run hitter. That's the viral videos. That's getting everybody's attention, so that way that they can get into the ecosystem. Then I have my media production company called B2C Creative. That's just like bartending to me. That's just another way to get cash flow as we build these things up. And then I'll have this other brand that I'm building up. That's going to be more so event planner, influencer side, to kind of help consulting them on how to throw their events, so that way I can ultimately start building up that clientele who will start throwing these big events at the venue partners that we have. And we've already had a chance to see some of this stuff where turning influencers with 200, 500,000 followers into event planners. They're bringing in $3,000, $4,000 worth of revenue in a midweek, and I have all this stuff ironed out. Now it's just about getting more in touch with them and getting them into an ecosystem so that way I can serve all of them all the time and not rip them off, because my time is getting valuable. So I need to make sure that I'm able to give everybody what they need to get everything launched, and we can kind of facilitate those interactions. But all in all, I think that's everything I have to say right now. If you made it this far in the video, I need you to go to Railz Hospitality Network. You go to railzhospitality.com, get into the network, introduce yourself. You can feel free to reach out to me individually on Instagram or however you need, and tell me what ideas you got, and let's start cooking some stuff up.